Welcome back, guys, to Dark Horse Paranormal. Things are a little bit different in this video. This is about our urban explore, where it all started within our echoes of Liverpool. We'll kick it off first with an interview from Ronan, who basically tells his account of his urban explore within the Adam Cliff, East Liverpool Day Nursery. Go ahead, so you've been in this nursery, when did you go in?
About when I was in the, let's say, 9.
So how many years ago was that then?
So I started year 7 to 16, 17, about 2018.
2018. So what was it like when you went in?
Well, climbed over the wall to begin with. It was half a challenge to get in because you could tell that no one's actually been in for quite a while. When we got in there was just this little shed that was like half stood up. You could tell it's been abandoned for quite a while. So I went in, saw that there was a window open. I went through the window with my mate. There was a door, it was locked, there was nowhere in. So we were just in this like kitchen, basically. It looked like it was a kitchen, and then it had a separate room to the side. And you could just climb inside of it, and there was no other way around. And then we found this ladder, and upstairs there was a window that you could basically climb through. So we used to like to climb upstairs. We got upstairs, and it was just like toilets into this one room, and couldn't go anywhere else. There was obviously no doors or anything that were unlocked. And it was just kind of one of them. It was like confusing. We didn't know what it was to begin with or anything, or when it was last used. So then I went with other mates, and then the door, it had on the door, can't keep it locked out forever. So we were thinking, wow, someone's been here before and just locked the place. There's some squatters, homeless people, whatever in it. But we could tell no one actually had been in there for quite a while because there was obviously no way in. After a while of like trying to figure out how to get through this door, we noticed there were some stairs, and we were wondering where it would actually lead to. It would lead to a whole different part of the building, and before you know it, go through there, went into the basement. Upstairs, and then there was more rooms that were locked up. But we couldn't get through, like the proper basement. Well, and that's when I came to you about it. Get in there. But when I first went, it just felt a little bit weird. Like that nothing's after the place. Nothing was like really vandalized to begin with. It was actually alright. Like obviously it was like a bit of a dumping ground, but it was kind of like decent. So then what? After what? About 19, about 2022, 23, was it? I mean, you went in it?
Sounds about right.
23, 23. What did we do?
I can't remember what we actually done, but it's not a little bit wrong me telling the story though, innit?
No, not really.
I could have just done that and not invited you on.
Yeah, to be honest. But yeah, we went there, didn't we? Just having a little explore. So we went other places, and this was like the first place we went to explore, wasn't it? And it just felt a whole different vibe after the last time we went in there. Doors were more open. You could tell people were living there. You could smell that they were living there. And it just put a whole new vibe into the place to begin with. Like it's hard to explain like what you felt in there. Like it's easy me saying yeah I went in there and it just felt cold. Like most people could picture being somewhere and being cold, but no, it actually like sent your skin crawling. Knowing that people actually lived there and decided to camp out there like in cold weathers and everything. But obviously at the age of what, 16, 17 being in there, knowing how like obviously people have been in there, and that's how they basically live for however long they have. Just seeing all them gas canisters and everything lying around, it just put a whole different meaning into the place. Especially when we started researching about it and like what's behind it. And I just remember because we went through to where the front door is on here, innit? And that's when we saw the flash.
Right, I'll stop you on there a minute. We'll go into that at a later date.
Well, what do you want to talk about? What did you feel when I first with you?
When we first went into it, it was crazy because we went through the back of the house, right? So it was absolutely derelict, overgrown, the whole lot. Like you said, with the windows open, you know.
Yeah.
We got in. There was like doors tied around with electric cables. You know, everything was completely all tied up and messed up. There was mattresses, sleeping bags, bottles of 3-litre bottles stored of piss. Scattered throughout the whole of the building.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else? It was a complete tip. You could fall through the floors.
I remember that. And we went in there and you went, watch your step.
Watch your step. And then one person that we went with, he's going to be on here in a couple of days talking about it as well. Tom. So he's coming on next, and it's going to be, so we'll talk about him falling through the stairs. That's going to be interesting. And have his say on it, you know?
Yeah. But it's like exploring like all over places because I've been to quite a few places. Like this just had a whole different feel. Like so it just felt a little bit off with the place. To be honest with you, it's one of them feelings that you just can't describe at all. It's you gotta be there to feel it. Like it just felt completely off altogether. You just can't describe it, to be honest with you. Like it's easy me saying, yeah, I had cold chills, but it went just I felt like something was going through your body, your blood was always pumping and rushing. You were on proper para.
See, it's like now they've all started work at the back of the house, if you know what I mean. So the garden's been all flattened, the shed's been taken away. You know, you'd see right at the back there where it's all white. That's the windows that you used to be able to get into. You know? I think then it's all like overgrown completely.
Yeah. Badly. Like to be honest, the past couple of years it went not bad overgrown and then all of a sudden it just grew out of nowhere. Since people have been in taking that shed down, like it just grew worse.
So when you talk about the shed, it used to be here before it got flattened, you know?
Yeah.
Which is mad because people remember that as like a little stable or a little play area back in the day, you know?
Yeah, it did have them kind of vibes to it, like, didn't it? Like a little stable where you like put a horse or something.
It did. Don't forget the house was been around since 1867, if not longer, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like you're talking before about squatters. They're all living there and people were living there that set up bad vibes.
Yeah.
So you'd expect that with cables that have been seen running through, across wired to lampposts, through the fences, and straight into the building, so they've got the electricity, you know? It's a fire hazard 100% around this whole building.
It was gonna go up one day, but you know.
To be fair, this has been on fire 3 times up to now. The last fire was the 3rd fire. It's a class 2 building now. The class 2 listed building. So it can be pulled down. So it could be insurance, it could be people to hide secrets that are in this house. And believe me, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, there's quite a bit, like going through there. It's just madness. Like when we last went, it was someone was there in the bedroom that was shut that we were in.
Yeah, that was crazy, innit? And then eventually come out and he was scared. He was reporting that other people upstairs would attack him and take his money and everything off him. That I think when we actually spoke with him, he actually worked for BBD, weren't he? That delivery parcel place. And his uniform was hanging up on the walls. The whole lot, the place looked sound, the Calgus fire. But then when he's lying in his bed, you got rats just literally running over his bed where he slept. All over his food and the side. Oh, it's a horrible place to live. You tell the local authorities and people like that about it, and they just go, no one will live there, mate. And it's just like blank you all off.
Yeah. But he had it all set out. He had a wardrobe, he had a bedside cabinet, everything set up, toothpaste, a lot. Like you could tell he was living there for quite a while. He had everything set up. He had the door locked, everything. He knew it.
Definitely do. And there's Calgus fire.
Yeah. He had pans, pots, everything. He had tin food. It was his own, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly, let's look at that though. That was on the second floor. Yeah. So you'd go up an extra floor because he said the people upstairs lived there and used to take his money off him. And then this is the floor that we thought was quite funny. And it really freaked people out because you had literally rubbish piled up to your knees in the top room with a bed or a double bed.
There was about 4 mattresses in there.
Yeah, we had all Arabic writing, was it? Romanian writing on the walls with pictures of a machete through people's heads. If you remember that, which was quite scary since you found a machete in the next room after it. You know?
Yeah, it was like a scary thing. It's like, if we think about it now, like, we could have been in there, we could have died, to be honest.
Yeah, it was completely crazy. But still, people knew about this. Outreach people knew about it, and nothing was ever done about these people that were in here that actually needed that help. Now, our reports for homelessness go back from 2019 all the way up to the recent fire at the end of maybe the beginning of this year, 2024. Everyone's aware of it, but no one seems to have done anything. There was still mail. They were receiving mail, identifications, the whole lot through there, which can still be seen by looking at the front of the house. You can still see where all the bags and the sleeping bags are through the front of the windows.
Yeah.
So you can see straight through.
Like, I remember I saw on the second floor, we saw about how many mattresses, like about 10 mattresses on the second floor, and then you saw people's shoes. Like, they weren't just like horrible shoes either, they were actually top-notch shoes, like red bottoms, everything, where it's just people who have had money have just lost their ways and needed out, but have not been able to have it.
What I found crazy most about this building, I'm just looking at the front of it now. I put it up a little bit early and you just carried on talking, but it's okay. It's like you can see the sleeping bags and everything straight through the windows of these 2 bottom floors from the street. No one actually does absolutely anything about it. You see the top layer where all the boards are rotting on the doors and the windows. They're all connected. You can go through one side of that building, which is known as 63, all the way across to the other end. It's 61, Everton Road. Next to it's the barracks, which we'll get and talk some more about that. So there is a lot of history about this house and everything that was actually in it, which we'll cover this as we go along. This is just staying purely about the urban explore, so I'm trying not to give anything away, which we'll come back to and talk. So once it lost its purpose, businesses that we know that moved in, like parents like you, that support parents.
Yeah.
You know, they must have supported parents that needed help with kids. You know? On top of that, where it gets a little bit worse, it was the YPRT, which was social services, that took over the building. As you can see, you can still see through. You'll see there's rough sleepers that were no one do nothing. So it was a local authority that actually had this building last. YPRT, that's a young person's respite. done through social services.
Yeah.
If you know, it's crazy. We'll go to the tablet that you were talking about on your Explore. Basically, that it was set up as a day nursery back in the day.
Yeah.
The whole building. This is the one that you were on about.
Yeah. I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, wow, it's a bit mad read it, and I was like, oh, it's a bit like mind blowing to begin with when I first saw it. I was like, wow, what's going on here? I was like, I was very attracted to it. I wanted to take it, but I just didn't know how. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I completely get you.
Like, didn't want to damage it, didn't want to break it, because obviously it's good history.
This is real good history, and it'll go to shame. But unfortunately, one of the explorers, not us, but I'll go into that later on, he went through it and ended up removing it from the house. And quite a lot happened, and it ended up in our care. And this is what brought us back in to undiscover this and bring it all back out and the whole stories. So the plaque basically read, Adam Cliff, East Liverpool Day Nursery. Adam Cliff, a merchant in Liverpool, ended his mortal life on here in February 1851 at the aged 74.
Right?
I can't read anything else at the moment. Hold on, I need to actually blow that up. So just bear with me 1 minute, please. You'll have to cut this out in a minute. I'm just going through the pictures of it now to get it all up correctly. And I can't actually. So yeah, so we ended this. So Mr. Adam, yeah, I'll go from this part and we cut that part out. Adam Cliff, East Liverpool Day Nursery. Adam Cliff, merchant of Liverpool, ended his mortal life in this house February the 8th, 1851, aged 74. An affectionate and grateful remembrance of a good father and a most talented, patriotic citizen. His son, William Cliff, by God's help, has devoted the house and the premises to his memory, investing in the same in trustees for the benefit of the above-named charity, April 19th, 1889. So that plaque was basically done, and that's all we done, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of history of what charity. So the Day Nursery is a charity? How would it be a charity? There's got to be more behind that, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
There's be more behind it.
There's too much history in it to not be like anything behind everything. It's like, even was Adam Cliff again was like, how did he come in contact with the property and everything?
See, exactly. And how did social services end up with it, you know? It's completely mad. However, it's not just us. We're the first people, the Dark Horse Paranormal, to get everything in one place. Later on, you'll see that we're calling out people that have spelled loads of false information, loads of records, and covered all that information up. And you'll find that out later on within the podcast. But it's not just us that are now doing it. Here's something from Reddit of someone basically doing the same, because the last fire has caused that much attention. Now he wants to write a book regarding it and the history with social services and everything with that building. So it won't be long before the truth and everything comes out. Even if people haven't listened to all this, the truth will come out one way or another. And there's a lot of people that are doing it.
And it's just going to interest them a little bit more, to be honest with you. Like, I know that I was interested. Right?
So yeah, right. Blah, blah, blah. So like I was saying, so it ended up being as you could see with the tablet, it was a day nursery. So I've got some footage of the kids back when it was a day nursery in a big hall with the mayoress, as it looks like around the Christmas time. Because you can see someone with Father Christmas. There's a lot of kids within this nursery over that time.
There was like I remember when I first went and I found a little toy, a little lion it was. It was not like major, like, but I found it just hidden away in the little loft in the kitchen. It was. So you could tell that it was either like they were keeping kids hidden away or kids were just hiding away another way. But that was up there. There was some marbles as well. And nowadays no one plays marbles, so you could, and it was pretty much dirty, like.
So you could say they were from back in the day, probably.
Very back in the day, like they weren't like polished marbles either, they were like very worn down. And when was the last time people played with marbles?
Exactly. I don't know kids that play with marbles now. They become a choking hazard. You're not allowed to give them to them no more, I don't think.
No, not allowed. I don't even think they're even sold. I think I've never been to a shop and sold marbles anymore.
It's mad, isn't it? So yeah, it's a shame how this all ended with a fire again from upstairs.
Yeah.
You know, they had to access it through the roof. You know, it took a number of crews to put it out.
I'd say it was like a two bell fire.
Probably. We do have drone footage somewhere of the top of the fire, or we have got drone footage, as I say, blah blah blah. We'll add that into it when we have to, and we'll collab the whole lot together tomorrow. Yeah. So yeah, and then we could all just talk about that and the random shit. But it's mad. I'm trying not to go into too much with the social services and the parents like you.
Yeah, but you want to, because the building's released. You actually do want to go into it. That's what the building's up to you. For the podcast, you want to go.
We're going into it as we go further along, rather than now.
I think at the start, what we should do, we go into the building when it was made, what it was to begin with. Then we'll go into who built it.
See, how we've done it with this, I've done the Witcher story. Then I've jumped in from the Witcher story to an urban explorer. Then I've gone into all the buildings, then we go into the nursery. The whole lot. So I'll end the urban explorers. This is basically how Dark Horse Paranormal began. We've done loads of research. It was like we got attached to the board or the tablet. It was waiting for a story to come out. That type of thing, you know. And then we'll go, right, let's go into it and look at the buildings around. And then I'll start talking again about the buildings around, about the barracks and everything else. Because technically, right, I haven't told Ronan this yet. It actually turned to be North Liverpool, or it was North Everton Academy, the building back in the day, and they got moved. There's a lot of history without this building. But the funniest part is it got closed down. Not fit for purpose, not allowed around kids as a nursery. But then social services took it over.
Oh, they've also got the old toilets in there still, I remember that.
Toilets? Some of them were smashed up.
Yeah, so without the toilet top or anything, it's just a little bowl. I remember I took a piss in. I went and used the toilet when I was exploring, and I saw the toilet and I went, oh, it's a toilet.
It's mad, isn't it?
So even if anyone wanted to blow with it, did anyone to use the deep to the bathroom? I went to the bathroom.
Crazy. It is proper mad. So, what else have we got to add about this? What do you think we've got to add into this, right? It's 24 minutes long. We haven't had Tom's story.
The fact that next to it was actually Adam Flick's house. before it got brought
The
down.
one that got, it wasn't actually Adam Cliff's house. We can't actually spend at that because that building was built by William at a later date, his son. Adam Cliff died in 63.
So he basically, in other words, committed suicide in the nursery.
No, he died of an illness. It's just the way they write it back in the day.
Oh, okay. Then we can talk about how William Cliff built the house next to the nursery.
That's what I'm doing. I'm doing all that crap. I'm not just inviting news on for the explore and all that shite. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it'll be too much to burn your heads to picture absolutely everything. If that makes sense. That's the best way to do it. So yeah, it's fucking absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's madness, like.
So we need to add more about the garden. We'll be able to add more about the parks. We could say that it was added to the other house at the end, which was William Cliff's. I do have a picture of William Cliff's house as well, while it was there. I do have, you know what I mean. We'll have drone footage that should link the two together.
Yeah.
Tom will have his input about falling through the floor.
And how we felt exploring.
Yeah.
It'll be amazing. Podcast will run amazing.
Right, let's just stop this. So there you have Ronan's account regarding his urban explore. So with that interview being out the way, we're going to piece together some footage that we've had, and we'll give you a talk through and explain some things from inside the nursery. As you can see from our drone footage taken above the now burnt out Adam Cliff East Liverpool Day Nursery, you can see looking inside the building that the building goes all the way towards the dojo. We cover a bit of this within our Echoes of Liverpool podcast, and how the building is actually bigger than it's made out to be. You can also see where the floors are no longer there, and the trees are actually growing from inside the building. There's a lot of rubbish still left, as you can see without the camera and the footage. So what did we find out when we took the challenge of exploring this dangerous burnt out Grade 2 listed building? We do apologise for muted videos. We had to do this as one of our members of the team brought a friend who was playing music, and it would have got us a strike off. What you have just seen here is a prime example of why you should not take others into abandoned buildings that don't have the experience. Like the interview before, we use Ronan, now part of our team here at Dark Horse Paranormal, for a while now, and will continue to, whereas this gen got way too excited and didn't think of others, leaving people alone in the dark, as he rushed on to explore in a hurry. Well, it didn't work out for this gent, as soon he realised when he found himself going through the floor. Buildings like this are dangerous and always should be treated with caution and slow movements while making your way through, and always work in a buddy-buddy system. But the matter of fact, if you haven't done this kind of thing before, or even have a plan, then one simple piece of advice: don't go in. As you can see in the clip you just watched, our team did make it down the 3 flights of wooden stairs. But it was slow movements, and the guy who fell through the floor actually managed to make it out again safely. Our team even managed to make it into the cellar. This was in prep. That would have and should have led to a paranormal investigation at a later date. As you can see From the previous clip, there's a far door that is open and connected to a communal bathroom. However, past the fireplace wall is now 61 Everton Road. So there's the evidence inside this building that the buildings were in fact attached. If you haven't followed our podcast on the Echoes of Liverpool, then we'll mention it now. There was a well-known fact that this was the Adamcliff Day Nursery. It was also known as Everton North Academy back in the day. It was a boarding school too at one point, and after the day nursery was condemned by the local authorities, it became a respite for children under social services. As this video shows, the building's in very bad state of repair. It's currently owned by the Liverpool City Council and has a vast amount of rough sleepers that have settled within the building. It's littered with alcohol cans and loads of bags and rucksacks, possibly from people's content from the Liverpool Centre that's been stolen. But given the history, you would think that the council will want to have restored this building. And given this history, after all, Adamcliff died within this house. His son William donated the building and this building to a man called Thomas Ingrew, who went on to create what we know today as the NSPCC. That would deserve a blue history plaque, right? However, we'll leave it there with you and a few pictures that we took of this building. We're planning to go back in the new year to do a paranormal investigation, as we haven't covered a lot in this building, as we think it will benefit from a daytime explore. Till next time, stay safe.